All right, guys. So I've got Geoff back on the channel, and oh boy, me and Geoff, we did an interview a few months back, and he was discussing about the entrepreneurial mindset, his book, Purposeful Discussions, and we're really knuckling down now into this coronavirus, this furlough, this dilemmas that are happening. Geoff said, he was at an event just the other day, and we need more to do with entrepreneurs pushing themselves out there. So we've got a jam-packed, realistic interview, shall we say, where Geoff and I are going to talk about the battle of the entrepreneurial mindset. And I've been growing, guys. I've got a big fan base, cracking on to 31,000 followers now. Started this from zero, so it's good to get Geoff on board, a legend. He's done many books in this area. Meaningful Discussions is one of them, and that's a high-flying selling book. I did check it out on Amazon, and it is doing quite well. So we're going to talk about the battle of the entrepreneurial mindset, shall we say. Quite an interesting topic Geoff chose. And if you don't know Geoff, first things first, follow Geoff. He is doing absolutely amazing things. He's an entrepreneur to heart, and this is what the interview is about, is getting people out there. So do follow Geoff. He's got years and years of experience, and I just can't give him that. I just give him so much credibility for what he does and what he's doing. So Geoff, it's great to have you.
Awesome. It's absolutely a pleasure to be here again. As I said, I always enjoy these interactions because we're able to speak very truthfully about the facts, and you hit on some amazing topics which are disturbing, to say the least.
Very
Look, media.
Yeah.
You got to ask the question, what are the media doing right now? They're blowing things out of proportion. They're putting they're scaremongering most people. I had a recent podcast recently where one of the attendees said, I'm scared. I'm actually scared to send my daughter to school, from lockdown. Right. You talk about the psychological mindset, but look about the other factors that are going to be created as a direct result of the scaremongering, right? Now, look, statistics, there's, what you don't see, and I predicted this, as I said to you before, I predicted that there was a tsunami coming 2020 when I wrote the book, Purposeful Discussions, Fact, I predicted it. What I didn't know is COVID. COVID has locked in 2 to 3 months. It has accelerated, 5 years of speed compounded by the changes that we all had to endure. Now, there's nothing wrong with change. Change is constant.
It's a big change,
but the psychological effects of people that are fixed in a structure don't understand. Look, 6 trillion debt. A 0.2 statistics of national death. You can't compare it in that context to other events. Like Spanish flu was 50 million, with 500 million people symptoms around the world. Quarter of our population at that point in 1918, 1920 was completely wiped away. Right? As I said before, 0.2 is not really a big enough figure.
Yeah.
It's bad. Don't get me wrong, it's horrific in terms of, people losing their family, their friends, their loved ones. But we've got a bigger issue coming. If people don't actually start to engage and start to get back, to what they love and what they know, we're going to have a bigger problem come November, December, because we're not going to see a recession. We're going to see a wipeout.
Right.
We are, psychologically, people have got to start engaging with people. I did this week. I was in the boardroom for the first time. It was phenomenal. I was really pleased to be there, engaging as I was before the lockdown, and I want more of it. And I don't think it's going to go back to that normality, because I think that the right approach here is probably taking a mix of doing, Zoom calls, WebEx calls, Teams calls, phone calls, and live-to-live meetings. You'll only go to a meeting where there needs to be a critical qualified outcome, but we've got to start doing it.
And it's a wake-up call, I think. And your book, mentioned it, in several passages, about communication in your book with Meaningful Discussions, how important it is to communicate with people. And, this brings back to the topic today, the battle of the entrepreneurial mindset. you just said it yourself, you know, you want more engagement, you want more communication. First things first, what do you mean by the battle of
Well,
the
actually,
entrepreneurial
I think meaning. You hit a really interesting couple of words there: meaningful and purpose. What we need now is more purpose. We got to have better listening skills. We've got to be more empathetic. How do you expect to have a meaningful conversation, okay, that's got purpose, unless you're listening? Unless you're empathetic? Leadership, let's talk about another subject. How
That's a big topic.
committed are people in being leaders in their own right? I mean, leaders at home, mum and dad. I mean, leaders in a business, leaders in government. Let's get to the core of this. Who is actually standing up? Where are the George Washingtons, right? Where are they?
Yeah.
We got Boris Johnson, okay? Whatever your view is on Boris, fine. But we need leadership. We need leadership to be able to respect and honor and have purpose around our government leaders, around our business leaders, corporate leaders, because it stimulates right from there to home. Because people look at other people and they say, if they can do it, we can do it.
Yeah.
If you're looking at domestic kind of behavior, psychological behavior, says, I'm staying at home and I'm not going to leave home, I'm too terrified. Well, then they should read the Sunday Times more, because the Sunday Times 2 weeks ago said, if you're at home, you're still going to catch it, whether you're in lockdown or whether you're out. I did an article in the Sunday Times a few weeks ago, which you may or may not have seen.
We'll go into that, because I think, you were actually on the Sunday Times talking about, the furlough and the coronavirus and what the detrimental effect it's happening to the
100%.
employees. And I think you kind of mentioned it all over there, Geoff, about, how employees are facing the brunt of it.
And business risk. We've got some big issues around business risk now. And risk is always measured in two ways. What are the ramifications if I don't do this? What are the ramifications if I do? Making better decisions only comes from listening, from being empathetic, from having meaningful conversations.
Which your book points out. It kind of says it all there in your book. And so forth. So let's go down to it. The entrepreneur, right? It's a topic that's hot to you. You mentioned it on your website, the freedom of the sharks, what the definition of an entrepreneur is. So tell me, Geoff, what is the battle? What is the battle today that entrepreneurs are facing?
You've got two kind of questions. Do you remember about a decade ago when businesses wanted to have a different kind of thinking? They wanted a different kind of influence. It was like, how can we bring entrepreneurship to the corporate business environment and the boardroom? Okay. What they didn't realize is culturally, that wasn't a good fit, because you've got corporate people that are used to a very strict process. You don't ask people, you get told mentality. And so that whole paradigm shift, if I use that for a better format,
changed a lot from boardroom to where you are now.
Exactly, but that's a paradigm shift. So you talked earlier about change. Well, Darwin, his famous one of his famous quotes was, you may not be a fan of Darwin. I actually am a great fan of Darwin. It's not the strongest of species that survive. It's the one that's more adaptable to change. We're going through that period now. The people that actually have got the ability not to survive, I'm talking thrive in this period, are people that have got the ability to adapt and change and thrive in their environment. Okay, everyone's talking about the negative. They're not focusing on the positive. Entrepreneurship is is basically my own money, not the bank's money, not the government's money. My money is what makes me an entrepreneur. As an example, your drive in belief. You will not just have a great vision and a great idea. You'll have the ability to execute. And if you don't have the people to execute it, you will execute it, because there are no barriers with entrepreneurship, no barriers. The bigger question is always, how committed are you at this idea? Is it just another idea, or is it truly your purpose on the planet, in the world, to actually drive what you believe in? Because right now it's going to test people. People are going to be tested, whether you're in a corporate environment, whether you're whether you're working in a retail store, whether you're working corporate management, or whether you're on the board of directors. You are going to be tested like you've never been tested before. It is the time where millennial booms need wisdom from people like me and also executives that have got 30 years international experience to be able to guide them through these events. This is not my first event. You know, I was there in Black Friday. I was there in 1990 recession. I was there in the dot-com boom.
Yeah,
you know, yeah. I was there with SARS, Ebola. I was there in the double dip of 2008 and 2009, and now we got this. This, as far as I'm concerned, is just another event. It's how you approach this. It's how you execute. It's how you support and help others. And I talk about empathetic. Not lightly. We have to be more empathetic. We have to listen to our people. We have to support our people. We've got to show them and how them to navigate and course direction in this period. Otherwise, they will fail. And you know what? It's leadership's problem if they do fail.
It's all down to leadership, yeah.
I'm talking about leadership. I'm talking about accountability. Leadership, take full accountability for your actions because you're in charge. You're responsible. This is not the time to run away. This is the time to lead. And there's never been a better time to lead than there is now, quite frankly.
So the guys that are tuning in, you know, we're talking about everything here that's happened in the last couple of months, the coronavirus. Geoff is, you know, really saying there's going to be a big change happening. And it's kind of, it could be a cause for concern, I would agree, to some extent as well, to some of the entrepreneurs out there that are trying to make it. And we're talking about the battle of the entrepreneurial mindset, something that means something meaningful to Geoff. Geoff, for the audience, what uncertain times are we facing? For those tuning in, you know, we've got thousands of tuning in. Let's try and knuckle it down a little bit to the questions. What uncertain times are we facing now?
Uncertainty is every day. Get used to it. It ain't going away. Think about it. We're compounding 3 months of COVID that has accelerated the fourth industrial revolution. Effectively, 3 months, we're commanding 5 years of growth into 3 months. These uncertain times, when that door opens, you got to expect anything. It's the people that have got the ability, the wisdom, the competence, the skills to actually make better decisions, to navigate, and actually to drive growth. This isn't just about solving a vision problem. This is about driving growth, performance and growth. You've got to be able to answer all of those questions. But first and foremost, you've got to listen. You've got to be empathetic, okay? You've got to qualify those meaningful conversations. You've got to drive purpose-driven leadership in your situation today. And if you do, you'll navigate, you'll be able to put full throttle down in terms of growth, international growth, global business, and actually take your business or your family to a better set of circumstances.
I think that strikes a resemblance to a lot of people. And I think there's a lot of people that are going to be watching this video and, you know, we're going to get a lot of traction. What's the one thing you would tell the audience about this?
Trust.
Okay.
Trust is huge. I commissioned a trust report back in January, okay, before COVID. And the trust report that I personally commissioned for IBEM, okay, went out to 2,100 employees that said, I do not trust my line manager. I do not trust my chief exec. Okay, big problem. Number two, EY commissioned a report, a worldwide report just recently that showed that 80% of companies weren't even prepared for COVID. No business response plan, no business continuity plan, no health and safety for employees, you know, and then
so they weren't prepared.
Right, but you couple that with everything else that's been talked about from Bain, Boston, McKinsey about the failure in leadership today, and you suddenly realize that a failure in leadership coupled with COVID, coupled with a lack of direction, your failure rate's going to go through the roof even further.
Well, yeah, it's quite high.
We're talking about a different kind of leader. We're talking about an empathetic leader. We're talking about a leader with purpose. We're talking about higher levels of skill. So knowledge share. We're talking about upskilling. We're talking about taking people to another level. They're going to be out of their comfort zone, but they're going to go to better waters, providing the people behind it are driving with the right sense of experience, knowledge, education, and skills. That is paramount. You cannot work for somebody without a purpose. You cannot work with somebody without the skills. You cannot work with someone without the education. You've got to be able to take people in their situation, and you've got to take them out of fear, and you've got to take them on a vision, and you've got to take them on purpose. If you do that, you will coast through this period, but you'll not only survive, you will thrive with performance in your individual circumstances and as a business. But the bigger question is, how much do you really want to do this? Is this just an idea, or is this something I actually believe is right for me, my business, and the people I'm taking on the journey?
Geoff, great insights there. And cool, you've got over 20 years experience now in this field. 30 years. Everyone, 30 years of experience, and as someone that knows what he's talking about. Geoff, you were on the Sunday Times, and you talked about this, right? You discussed the employee exodus. You mentioned about what is going on. Just tell the audience what your thoughts were when you were published on there, and what you talked about, and what do you mean by the exodus that's happening?
So Sunday Times is really interesting. I was also in European CEO with kind of a similar theme, because one of the big topics at the moment, as you're quite aware, is the furlough issue and the layoff issue.
Yes.
And that in itself is putting a lot of fear. I sit on the executive board for a company where we did not furlough one employee.
I think there's people here that are going to be watching this, and they are on furlough.
Right. So we made a conscious decision as the board that it was the wrong message to be sending out to our employees that we were going to furlough people. All businesses need to look at their reset button in terms of, now, what is our strategy? How are we going to execute that strategy? What are the people that we need on our journey now to take this business from where we are to an excess amount of growth? Now, sure. So from an Exodus point of view, every company is going to take casualties when you review strategy. The problem is, as I said before earlier in this interview, EY report said that 80% of companies were not prepared, which means they're not on strategy. Okay, you've got to react to strategy very quickly. When I spoke to my business partner in the US, on the 20th of March, saying, "What are you doing for business response?" He said, "It's been the business response plan has been approved by board, and we've executed it." What were people doing in Europe? We're thinking about it. Thinking about it is not where you should be. You've always got to be ahead of the curve.
That's a bit concerning what you just said there, because you're saying that they were not prepared. Can you just say that to the audience, because I don't think people are resonating with that.
The EY report, which was based on all the continents around the world, they did a worldwide survey on management teams and leadership that were prepared for COVID versus ones that weren't. And 80% of the survey stated they were not prepared for COVID. And that's a major concern, because leadership has to be ahead of the curve. Okay, ahead of the curve. You've got to have your planning, you've got to have your strategy, you've got to have your planning, you've got to have your resource, and you've got to make better decisions to basically charter your boat into better territories, as I said earlier. And 80% of everybody all the companies that were interviewed, of which there were thousands, came back with that as a survey. That's huge. That's huge in itself, right?
It is.
So where is strategy? Are we talking about too much short-termism? Because that's not going to get you through COVID. You've got to work scenario plannings. You've got to work short-term, medium-term, long-term range planning in order to get through this period, because you also need to be able to adapt and change when it needs to happen. And you've got to have the right team around you to do that. So having strategy, having the planning, resetting at the right time, incredibly important for businesses. Small businesses, large businesses, corporate businesses, I call it in the same. In fact, with the larger businesses, it's more difficult to make immediate change. it's quicker as an entrepreneur, an SME, business owner, founder, to be able to make a change based on facts, immediate.
It's all facts, and what you say, it's all about leadership. And for the audience tuning in, Geoff is going into detail. This is no fluff. This is just a pure, realistic interview. There's a lot that Geoff wanted to come out here. One important question, Geoff, is how do people stay ahead of the game? How do they stay ahead of the curve? Because it seems to me this is quite something meaningful to you, especially with your book and the way you wrote it, and you discussed about all of these things. What is it that something to you is how they stay ahead of the game? How do people, to tell the audience?
So it's very clear that if you do not have the skills in-house, you've got to bring them in-house. So you've got to bring in people like my business, IBM, or my partner's business. You have to bring in experts. I think there's a real play here, because if you look at leadership, you've got a lot of millennials and the boomers coming through.
When you say experts, do you mean influencers? Do you mean people who are entrepreneurs, or do you mean business experts from PwC?
I mean business experts. You've got to bring in business experts like me, and essentially help if you do not have the skills internally, because there's two things that bridge with that. Firstly is the upskilling, the education internally, and also change within the organization. But if you don't bring in the expertise at this level, then there are going to be much bigger issues further down the line. So for number one, sorry, I was on a track on the millennials. Now there's a real play right now between taking those millennials, 40, 35, 45 sort of bracket, who are in a leadership position right now, to work with seasoned professionals like myself as a non-exec director, NXD, where that can also take leadership to the next level, which is where they need help and support right now. But certainly, if you don't have, very clearly, my advice on this call today is, if you do not have the skills internally and you've got gaps within your operational management team, then seek professional help externally. People like myself, in the same category, will help you, will guide you, will support you, will put you on strategy, and we'll put you with a better outcome, and you will have a better outcome, and that will be effective within the first 90 days.
I'm sure we'll put that in the comment section on the post, and make sure people can get in touch with you, Geoff, and go from there. And my final question, so we've gone through quite a lot of the interview, and I think we might do a bonus question after this, but what is it? How do you see now? What is value? This is something that a lot of people can't really show, to be honest with you, is the value of being an entrepreneur. What do you see sort of growing? How do you take that leap? Because we're all entrepreneurs, but not half of them can even show any value, let alone, try and be professional at the same time. How does that battle of the entrepreneurial mindset derive itself so you show pure value?
So
value is important.
Value is important, and value is measured in many different ways. That's why there's not a lot of metrics, only unless you have KPIs, and KPIs are generally driven about return on investment, ROI, not ROO, which is return on objective. So you've got things like the softer issues that are never really measured, because they never had to be a KPI. Now I think if you're on a management team, or you're an entrepreneur running a business, you're shooting. A lot of entrepreneurs micromanage. They're too scared about what could go wrong, rather than what risk you should be taking to drive the business forward. So I would suggest that appraisals, KPIs are put into place, and they are tracked and measured on a weekly, monthly basis. There has been a shift. The WEF, which is the World Economic Forum, did a measurement on the difference between IQ leadership and EQ leadership, and then brought the two together. In my professional opinion, then the era that we're dealing with can't be all IQ and it can't be all EQ. It has to be a combination of the two. So it's where academia meets emotion, meets purpose, and you're able then to drive that. I think it's really important that you build culture within your organization that is true and transparent around things like trust. It's true around your value sets, that everybody lives and breathes vision and mission, and they're a part of something. But there's many moving parts here. Like strategy is not a simple conclusion. Strategy is moving parts around the whole organization. But so you may want to have a person in your organization that deals with culture, that deals with purposeful leadership. That is not a COO, a chief operating officer necessarily. It's not necessarily the CFO's role. It's certainly not HR's role. It needs a dedicated support and function now, because in order to coast through this period, you've got to be on purpose. People want to learn. People want to knowledge share. People actually want to work together to achieve those overall goals. But the question is, what are you doing as a leader to deal with that? This is what I'm dealing with here. It's not just another task that you tick off your spreadsheet of saying, look, I've delivered purpose. Purpose is ongoing. It's living, breathing. And in order for you, I honestly believe that if you can reset the mindset of your employees and your people, okay, and you support them, Now, nobody's going to forget the fact that you didn't furlough them and you supported them through COVID. Their salaries were in the bank. They're able to pay the mortgage and bills. They're able to support their families, right? You support that. You're listening. You're being empathetic. And now you've got to take that to the next level. You've got to listen to their individual needs within the organization, their career progression. Okay, this is where training and education comes back within the organization. All right, and if you combine that and you do a wrap around that with things like culture, true value, bigger levels of transparency, more trust within the organization, you're going to get a higher level of buy-in, higher level of employee engagement, higher level of output and productivity. These are the things that leadership needs to start to adopt, and quickly.
That's a brilliant answer, Geoff. And, it's amazing how much insight you have in this. And I think this is something which is probably really meaningful to me as well, because as an entrepreneur myself, I know you've got years and years of experience in the business field, over 30 years experience. Break it down to us, Geoff, in this final sort of question is that let's move this shift from mentality from business to entrepreneurs. Because I think, businesses, they've got a little bit of a leg over this curve. And I think entrepreneurs are stuck today. What would you say today for those that don't have the corporate, don't have the 9 to 5s and are just starting out? Because there's people watching this today and they want to hear your thoughts from a businessman who's been in corporate for so many years. What would you tell those entrepreneurs? Move away from the business mindset, but move towards the entrepreneurs. What would you say to them in challenging times like this?
Okay, it's a very courageous task to set up a business today from day one. Okay, you can only succeed today not based on just an embryonic idea or euphoria. I woke up this morning and I'm now going to be an entrepreneur.
You're going to crack the world.
And crack the world. You can't do it without that wealth of wisdom, that wealth of knowledge. Surround yourself with executives. There's plenty of really solid executives with grey hair, pinstripe suits. Don't run away, Mr. Entrepreneur or Mr. Entrepreneur, just yet. You can work together. You can achieve great things together. You need to have the experts and the knowledge around you. I said this earlier, millennial boom and NXTs can work together. And if you're fortunate enough to engage some of these guys who have come out of the city, come out of international business, that are bored because they want to be able to try and help startup companies, SME companies,
and you work with these guys, right, Geoff? You work with these.
Yeah. All the time, all the time.
Right.
And I actually love working with these guys. Working with these guys. I love taking companies from sort of 5, 10 million to 30 million to 100 million. This is what I do, right? But it starts with the foundations. You're only as good as the foundations. Your core team can't be just about a couple of guys that were at university together and got a good idea, okay? Because you lack the commercial acumen. You lack potentially wisdom around, you know, what the S curve looks like, how to stay ahead of the curve, innovation, investment.
Really
how do I go
important.
out and get investment? How do I get ready for investment? Okay, what are the questions? How do we prepare ourselves, you know, ready for the world? What about strategy? You know, yeah, not just an idea. How are we going to break that idea down? How are we going to break strategy and commercial down? How are we actually going to go to market? There's 101
Hundreds of
different
things, yeah.
areas that
Yeah.
we need to concentrate on, right? But it still comes down to people, yeah? Irrespective of the fourth industrial revolution, which is, you know, AI, supercomputing, superhumans, you know,
Blockchain.
blockchain technologies, applications of blockchains, there's still
Yeah.
human intervention, and you've got to surround yourself with the right human intervention. With a human intervention into your planning, the dynamics change, you create
Right.
better foundations, better structure, and you've got a better ability to survive. As you know, 96% of all startups fail, but you surround yourself with what I've described to you, okay, with experts, with professionals, people that can really make a difference. Working together may not be the easiest thing that an entrepreneur or an entrepreneur is likely to do, but the end goal is, you know,
It's trust.
look, you can't do anything without trust, right? And it is about chemistry as well. You know, you've got a smart, intelligent, enthusiastic, totally directive 20-something-year-old or 30-something-year-old who now is going into business. You know, lots of skills, lots of good things. But you add a team of people around you in finance, in legal, in commercial around you, and you put 100 years worth of experience on your board, okay, even as a small company, okay, that's going to help you
That's a big thing.
tremendously. It's a big thing. And you know what, they're not necessarily looking to get paid lots of money here. They're looking to help and support, okay? And it's all about
Right.
trust. It's all about trust. Everything we do in life now is about trust. And if you think you can just get away with not being transparent, not being trust, not working on a purpose, not working on a vision that's got real legs, strategy, and can be have execution
Yeah.
and growth, then forget it. You're not going to survive. You know, and there is a brick wall. There is a brick wall that you'll go 200 miles towards. You'll not only waste your money, your friends and family's money, potentially
Everyone's time
money,
as well. Yeah.
and everyone's time as well. And one thing you can't measure in life is time.
There you go, guys. I hope, you know, with Geoff, you know, he's an absolute legend. He's really knuckled it down. He's really brought it to the audience. And I think, you know, it's good to criticize sometimes. I think it's good to show that trust because, you know, Geoff has over 30 years experience, and I'm sure we're going to get a good few comments on the comment section where we can sort of connect Geoff and a lot of folks out there to a big audience. I hope this helped the entrepreneurs that are sort of coming out and, you know, starting out in this sort of crisis time, I would say, because I think we are in a crisis, as Geoff points out, and he strikes a lot about what has happened. And I definitely tell you to rewind this video and also watch it again one more time, because with the years of experience, you know, Geoff does really sort of knuckle it down about what is happening. So I do hope to my audience that this helped you as well. Geoff, is anything finally you'd like to say? What is anything sort of out of your mind? What you'd like to say?
Yep. Can't find a copy.
That's all right.
Well, no, yeah, I can. I've got it here. Yeah. Buy my book. This isn't just a sales ploy for purposeful discussions, but there are 32 chapters in my book, and I honestly mean it. If you're even if you're a university student, if you are a businessman, if you're an executive, if you're a board director, this is covering everything you need to help you through this lockdown accelerated fourth industrial revolution. And I highly recommend. Amazon
it's got about
now
40 reviews now, hasn't it? About 40 reviews. It's got a lot of reviews.
we got a lot of reviews here.
I did check
you know, It's available on Amazon, Amazon.com,
Right.
Amazon worldwide. It's available on W.H. Smith, on Waterstones, Barnes & Noble in the US. I strongly
And this will help
recommend
the
it.
entrepreneur, right? This is
Yeah,
what the video is about.
100%. There are
Right.
32 chapters here of life experience
Life
and
changing. Yeah.
research and knowledge, and sort of running off some of the reports that we talked about earlier in the chat. It's really a great read. You will not be disappointed. If you do get disappointed, I'll happily refund you the money. Simple as that, because I believe in this so much. And it is everybody that's read this so far, of which there's hundreds.
Lots of comments.
The feedback is
Yeah.
it's helped them. It's helped them psychologically. It's helped them with their mental stress. It's helped them with their knowledge. It's helped them upskill. It's helped them take them back on the journey, get them reset themselves. We as human beings, we all got to reset. This is a period where
It's a resetting time. Yeah. This is challenging. Yeah.
It's all challenging. We got to overcome challenge. We got to overcome diversity, and we got to take ourselves to a better situation. This book helps you. So that's my leaving point. I would suggest everybody.
We'll leave a link on the comment section as well. So
we should do. We should do.
And I think we'll spare it out.
If anybody's got any questions about anything I've discussed on this call, look, happily speak to them and happily connect up.
We'll connect you.
I'm here to help people, and my journey in life is very clear. I'm here to help people develop and grow and realize those dreams and ambitions and take them to things that are going to yield better prosperity and growth. And that's why I'm here. I'm helping companies, and my business partner in the US, we're helping people all the time. This is why we're here. This is what we do.
There you go, guys. I hope this helped the average entrepreneur. Cool. We've covered it all today, and I think it's an important insight that what you shared was important, Geoff. And I think we needed something like this to sort of tell people, all the entrepreneurs out there, exactly what is going on. So do follow Geoff. I'll leave a comment section on where to get his book, and really enjoyed hearing your insights, Geoff. It was an absolute privilege. Hope to have you again.
It's always a pleasure, Naz. Great to see you. Great to interact with you, and great to have some Q&A with you. Awesome.
Great. All right, there you go, guys. And we'll see you in the next one. And I really hope to all the people that have followed me, you've enjoyed this interview. Do follow us. Do leave a comment section. We do like to get this out to as many people as possible. So we'll see you in the next video. Thanks very much. Bye-bye.
Thanks.